Now, you know it's a bit of a red flag when an airplane has its own Wikipedia article on lists of accidents and incidents, when there is just so many that you can't fit it on the main Wikipedia page. Yes, everybody, today we're talking about the Douglas DC-4, which is an airplane that pretty much had the most whole losses of any mass-produced airliner. Yes, 1/3 of these planes crashed. Yes, genuinely every third. Overall, they built pretty much 1,200 of these planes. And according to ChatGPT, it had 385 whole losses, 31% of fleet lost, which definitely tops the Tupolev Tu-154, a plane that I previously called extremely dangerous. Only 7% of which crashed, though. And once again, this list of incidents involving the DC-4 is quite long. Like, we literally see a plane crash every month in 1944, and at least 2 to 3 crashes every year after the war, all the way up until, like, the 1980s. It is absolutely insane how a plane can crash so often, and today, we would like to find out why that could be. We finally have a Microsoft Flight Simulator add-on for it. It was posted as a freeware, already has 1,200 downloads, very popular airplane, but it was converted from FSX though. But we'll have a look now. Cannot be that bad. So we're spawned in here in the Air France livery. Of course, this plane design as such came out as either the C-54 Skymaster, which is the military transport version, or the actual DC-4, which was built as an airliner. These planes look and are relatively similar, but I guess the DC-4 had a cabin. The C-54 was rather built once again as a military transport airplane. I wonder what this plane looks like now. The DC-4, again, the airliner version. So we are here now in the cockpit, and well, this is a 1940s airplane, and so it really looks like that, and it's probably part of the reason why so many of these planes crashed. I don't know whether this thing even has probably doesn't have an autopilot, does it? I mean, it has probably something like an auto gyro kind of autopilot that can just go up and down and maybe left and right, which is crazy because this thing could fly across the Atlantic Ocean. Anyway, let's take a closer look here. Here is sort of the navigation panel. Here we will find a cabin, or not. What in the world is this? Why is there like barrels here? This add-on probably isn't very good. Oh, here's a cabin now. This is supposed to be some curtains. This plane was actually, I mean, the good thing is that the windows were round, which for the 1940s definitely wasn't usual for an airplane. And look outside of the window here, that is round indeed. Let's go into the cockpit and see if this plane even starts up. I think this add-on might not be the best. In fact, none of the switches here work at all. Not even the alcohol switch works. Would they bring you alcohol into the cockpit if you put that on? Maybe that's also reflected in the ratings, which aren't necessarily perfect. Looks great, but does not work. Let's see if I can maybe turn on the engines by using Control E. Yeah, I am. Look at that. Okay, one engine is turned on. Yeah, the second engine turned on. Perfect. Third as well. Looking good. And I want the fourth engine to turn on as well. Come on, you can do it. Yes. Wonderful. All right, so here's the throttle of the 4 engines. As you can see, they work. We've got some instruments here. Let's go ahead and release the parking brake and turn left. It's funny because this plane very much reminds me of a smaller version of the DC-6 by Douglas, which was starting to be manufactured only 4 years after the DC-4 was started to be manufactured. And also, this plane crashed a lot less, even though it also has its own Wikipedia articles on its crashes. It's quite a lot, but not nearly as much as the DC-4. So let's go ahead and see if we can fly it. So here we go, looking good. I like the sounds that this plane makes. As you can see, the instruments work. We have, as you can tell, an airspeed indicator in miles per hour, which can be very interesting. Oh, okay, good turn here, but we kind of crashed into some other planes. Let's see if this thing's got enough power to take off at the same bar. I mean, this plane was built for war, so should be able to do it. Right? Yes, we're building up speed. Oh yeah, I can already tell the physics are pretty trash. Either way, look at that. The DC-4 is taking off. Let's go and put the landing gear up. Yes, this thing has retractable landing gear, and so it is relatively quick, right, for the time. And it's interesting because this plane, even though it was built from the 1940s, looks of quite a lot like modern airliners, doesn't it? Wonderful. And so now here we are to talk about why this plane was perhaps so dangerous. Obviously, once again, this is a wartime plane. And you know, war service does go wrong sometimes. U.S. Army Air Force, totally fatal crash. Another Air Force, there's just Air Force. Though a year after this plane started service, the TWA Airlines flight crashed because a pilot became disoriented in bad weather. Yeah, so obviously IFR flying wasn't really a thing. You couldn't really shoot an ILS approach in 1944, and so you could easily crash into a mountain. Talking about that, this is back when planes actually kind of disappear sometimes as well. There wasn't a satellite up in the space to do any like ADS-B or anything. Disappeared in the Atlantic Ocean. This is all Air Force or Navy. It was maintenance error, airplanes being too low on final approach, another controlled flight into terrain, struck a mountain, lots of wreckages that were actually never found, plane crash in China-Burma India theater, Air Force, even after the war. Planes crashing on approach, like they don't even like bother to like actually tell about the details about why the plane crashed on approach. It just says plane crash on approach. Yeah, the primitive technologies of the 1940s and 50s and 60s made this happen. I mean, by the way, all the things we're naming right now, we're now just at 1948, 5 years after the plane entered service. Another crash into a mountain. Air France crashed because of a maintenance error. I am not kidding. 10 crashes of these right here were from Air France. I feel like this plane right here plays a huge part in Air France's crash history. If you actually look for the airline that has had most crashes, it is actually Air France. And the DC-4 had quite a lot of them. And it's weird that Air France lost 10 DC-4s, even though they only had 45 of these planes in their fleet. Meanwhile, we have no more sound. The sound. Hello? Where's the sound at? This plane is a little bit broken. Anyway, let's go ahead and do some flight testing, because why not? I feel like this plane is quite capable. I mean, look, it had flaps and all that. Didn't have air brakes, though. Like, it's sort of a spoiler or like speed brake. Nor do any of the buttons work. The throttle works. That's a start. But yeah, let's maybe fly this plane at Courchevel. Let's do something stupid. We have some more liveries right here. How about American Airlines? Or rather, American Airlines System. This is AA. Look at that. They actually had 53 of the Douglas DC-4. And interestingly, I cannot find any crash on their account here on the Wikipedia page. Wow, very good. I mean, compare that to Air France, who lost 2 airplanes within 2 days. One crashed in the Arabian Sea while on approach to Bahrain, and another one crashed also in the Arabian Sea to What? The same thing happened over the course of 2 days. How does that happen? I don't know. Let's just not crash. Let's not make the crash record any worse. Now we are at Courchevel here again. Let's put out some flaps for takeoff. As you can see, well, it's very agile, this plane, and I really like the livery here. I like the orange. Look, we can take... Oh, goodness. We can kind of take off right here. Something of this plane, yeah, this is good, is apparently good takeoff performance, but something it couldn't do is fly high at all, because it didn't have pressurization, which means really bad things. You can only fly at like, what, 10,000, maybe up to 14,000 feet at most, which makes you a target to weather, whereas modern airliners can just overfly storms where we can't. If we encounter a storm, we're just genuinely cooked, and we lose orientation and maybe crash into a mountain while on cruise flight, which is even worse when you consider that back in the 1940s, weather forecasts were not really a thing. So this, yeah, we are, let's maybe do a landing here. Maybe I'll see at Courchevel. Put out the landing gear. Look at that. Luckily, the landing gear extension mechanism was quite reliable on the DC-4. There was only one belly landing following an unexplained in-flight fire. I'm not kidding, like 3,500 people lost their lives on DC-4. Anyway, let's go and put the flaps out. All right, come on, let's do it. This plane flies nicely at 100 knots. I do really like the sounds. They're quite authentic. Now, this plane did not have reverse thrust, I think. So we can only use the wheel brakes now, but this will be fine. This will not be, oh yeah. All right, this is fine. That's just a hard normal DC-4. Oh, yeah, okay, good landing there. This plane is very sturdy, as you can tell. No problem, we've just done a perfect landing. I'm not saying this plane was, inherently bad or anything. It probably flew quite well. I feel like it flies relatively well. It's just that these were different times. This plane was kind of a workhorse of the military, as well as some airlines who flew this plane into very rough conditions. Wait, they put a rocket on the DC-4, like a JATO rocket, to make it take off. That's cool. Is that how it's supposed to look? No, this plane crashed not because it was bad, but because it was flown badly. Yeah, so let's go and do one last landing, make it actually make up for it, you know. Wait, look at the sturdy landing gear. You could genuinely land this plane anywhere. Oh yeah, that's been a nice landing. Good, looking good. Let's stop it now. Perfect. The first ever safe flight on the DC-4. Very good. So this is the DC-4, everybody. If you are interested in sort of a commendable suicide and fly this plane, you can still do that in South Africa because the company Sky Class Aviation actually still charters out this plane. No kidding, that's really cool. Yeah, they have 2 of those, and these are the last 2 remaining DC-4. What in the world is this airstrip, by the way? Holy moly. All the other DC-4s crashed. Let's go and take off. Yes. No. Maybe. Yes. So, but thank you guys so much for watching this video. This add-on from me gets like a 4 out of 10. It looks great. So, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow as always. Good night. And a special thanks goes out to my members, my supporters. Guns Killer, R27, James Duram, That Dude, Anime Gods of Gaming, Derek, Insider Plane, Nishijitsu Finder, Professional Jamal, Ryland Williams, and New the York. You've got beautiful names.